Welcome to the Heather Penny Podcast, where our goal is to help you reach your potential by increasing clarity, building confidence, and engaging courage. Heather is a leadership coach, trusted advisor, and admired author. I'm Christina Morales. I'm a writer and marketer, and Heather is my dear friend and confidant. We've had so many inspiring and encouraging conversations, Heather, and I just knew we have to share these conversations. So many people need to hear your message right now, especially in this crazy world. So thank you for succumbing to my nagging and for starting this podcast.
Thanks for having me, Christina. It's so fun, and I'm looking forward to jumping into our time together.
Oh, me too. I know. So what I want to start with in this initial podcast, our premiere, is I want our audience to learn more about you. You have such a fabulous story and a needed message. And so we want to learn about your passion. And I would just like to know, how did you become a leadership coach and advisor? And what caused you to choose this profession?
Yeah, you've heard the saying of, I didn't choose it, it chose me. That's kind of what I feel like. I honestly never even knew what a coach was. I really was trained in teaching. I taught little guys and then moved up into the university level with my master's in leadership and education. I started training teachers and then teaching at university level at human growth and development. Mm-hmm. And then I started doing some consulting. So what I started finding out was that I really love supporting people growing. It's that simple. I love it if they're little tiny kids all the way up through adults. And I realized that was something that I was good at. I understood it, and I also wanted to get better at it. I think what started moving more from consulting over into coaching, though, was I started doing all this consulting. I started doing all this consulting, and I started seeing all of these teams, but I never knew if they were really growing, if it was sustainable. So I started saying, I think the teams really are only as good as the individual. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to shift my whole business model away from this consulting model and more into an individualized process with people. I really wanted to work with people individually, knowing that they would make their team better, or even if they weren't working full time and they're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, or anything else along those lines, we're giving them the opportunity. I wanted to make sure I came alongside people and helped support them in their individualized growth.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been in this role?
Well, I guess I kind of feel like I've been in it since I've been a teacher, because it just feels like one long thread of graduating when I was a teacher. And I've just been teaching for a long time, coaching specifically with my own company. It's been probably the last 10 years. And this really took off. I started with doing retreats, and then I started doing a lot more one-on-one. And then I started moving into a lot of corporate coaching. I started moving into corporate sessions and moving in with executives and leadership teams. And now I kind of do everything from personal coaching to professional coaching, but it all goes back to kind of that one-on-one, right? Mm-hmm. The individual is what is going to make their area of the world better. And that's what I want to do. If I can help support that one person, they could probably support a team of 50 or a household of 4 or a child who is shifting and growing. Whatever it is, if I can support that one individual, they have what it takes to make their world a better place. So I want to equip them and empower them to do their job and step into their life the best they can.
Mm-hmm. And what's the difference between consulting and coaching?
I think coaching is really more of the individualized process. Okay. You're going after that human growth and development. You're going after the individual. Consulting is really more of the strategy and how we're looking at the team or the company as a whole. The cool thing is I love holding both, but I realize how much I really enjoy the coaching piece. And I feel like that's where I will start. I won't even work with a team before I start working with the individual, whether it's the CEO or the director or anyone else. I want to make sure I'm working with the individual first to understand what it is their role is in the company or on their team.
Mm-hmm. That's so smart. It's like John Maxwell says, your team's only as good as your leadership, and that's kind of the lid. And so the higher the lid goes, the more the team can accomplish. So that's exactly right. Yeah, that's amazing. In the past 10 years, we're hearing a lot about life coaches and executive coaches. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because people are looking for something beyond counseling. And I'll speak for myself. I love counseling. I'm a huge fan of therapists and counselors. Yay, thank you for all the work you've done. All these people out there. But I remember walking out of a counselor's office going, well, now what? How do
Mm,
I really live and thrive and grow and get to that next level? And it was during that time that I actually hired my own coach and I got to experience it. And the funny thing is that I was working with him to try and figure out the next chapter of my life. And so I was interviewing for all these jobs. And finally, I remember one conversation, he said, Heather, have you thought about coaching? I thought, no, I haven't, but now I am.
uh-huh.
So that completely shifted my whole paradigm when I realized, yeah, I love the idea of working with the individual to get them to their best life in the world that they're living in. And so I just started doing that and really developing it all based off of my research, my work, my education, everything that I've done in helping like a little third grader get to fourth grade, or a student get credentialed, or whatever it is that I was doing in education. I was able to start applying that in coaching and help get them to that next level.
Mhm.
So I think it's this idea that people want to be empowered. They want to step into their potential, and they want someone to step into it with them and believe in their potential with them. Many
Mhm.
times I talk with people and the conversation starts with kind of them whispering what they hope they could be or who they want to be.
Wow.
And I say, yes, 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 I will help you get there. And I don't think we have enough of those voices in this world. And I think that's why coaching's taken off. I get asked the difference a lot between counseling and coaching. And there's always crossover, but I think I would describe it really simply as coaching is this process of looking forward, while counseling is this process of looking backwards. Both
So
are important. But I think coaching, people are wanting more and they're saying, how do I get forward? I've gotten a lot of things resolved. I have talked about a lot of issues in my life. I've gotten the support I need there, but I really want to believe that I can live a big, beautiful life. And I think it might be fill in the blank, I might be an author. I might be opening a business. I might want to get married, whatever it is that people kind of whisper to me. And I just say, yeah, your desires are telling you something. Now, let me stay in the game with you and let me take the journey with you so that you can figure out how you need to take each step of the way. So
Mhm.
coaching is really focused on this forward movement so they can get to their end goal. And I truly believe when people whisper their stuff to me, I really believe them. And I
Mhm.
don't think they even believe it themselves. So I always say, yeah, I'll hold the hope for you until you can hold it yourself. And then as
Mhm.
you hold it yourself, that they're able to launch. So I think coaching provides this opportunity. It's a completely different venue to start whispering their dreams and their hopes and their desires. And then they have someone come along, not only believing it with them, but then helping them get those next steps to get there.
Mhm. That's so smart because so many times we're so close. Obviously, we're living within our lives and we can't see the potential. We can't see what other people see. And so to have someone who's unbiased, I mean, you don't want to go to your mom sometimes or your
Yeah.
husband because they already have their preconceived notions. And so to have a coach who's unbiased say, go ahead, do it, that's incredible. And why do
Mhm.
you think we need to have that permission to live our dreams? Like, why isn't that innate? Like, it seems like we should just say, I can do, I mean, when you're little, you think I can fly. And then when you're older, you're like, I don't even know if I can pursue this baby step in my career or towards my goal. Why do you think that is?
Well, yeah, that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah.
um, I think it's because life beats us up, you
Yeah.
know? I'm a parent, and I remember watching my little 5-year-old thinking he was the best dancer in the world. And I remember just wanting to just
Right.
weep at that moment, knowing he's going to be 15 or 16 or 17 one day, and it's going to be a very different feel. And they become more self-aware and they begin to realize they're not who they want to be, or they're not as good as they are, and they get hits and they don't know what to do with them. And that begins to develop these lids that we put on ourselves. I really can't dance. I
Mm-hmm.
really can't, you fill in the blank, do my own business. My teacher told me I was bad at math. I'd never be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I started in this career and it really backfired badly on me. Or I'll never get married to someone that I really love because I'm not lovable. I mean, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
And it's really goes down to what they believe about themselves. And I like to come alongside them and just gently say, can we check that belief? because I believe that you are lovable, or I believe you get to have the career of your dreams, or I do believe that you get to have this. I don't know how yet, but I do believe that. And if we can start there and agree with what we truly believe, we can start getting those little baby steps to get us there.
So do you provide free boxes of Kleenex? Because I'm sure at that point they're like, oh, I can do it. And then they're putting down their baggage. That's so powerful. That's so amazing. So
Yeah.
do you think that's what makes your message unique from other life coaches and coaches out there, is that you empower them to move forward?
I do. I empower them to move forward, and I hold them accountable for it. And I always say I hold people accountable, but it's never through shame or guilt. Like, shame on you, you didn't do that. It's really more through the sense of accountability and grace and love. If they come to the next conversation and they don't have an action step done, I say, okay, let's get behind it. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's an insecurity. Sometimes it's an anxiety. Sometimes it's just they didn't know what to do and they just need some practical examples. I never know what I'm going to work with, but my hope is that I'm meeting that person where they're at and I'm asking the questions. But just to get really practical, it's why I don't even work with anyone unless they commit to a minimum of 3 months with me. Okay. And that's weekly conversations for 3 months. Why? It's like going to the gym and working with a trainer and saying, I'd like to drop 20 pounds, but I only want to give you, one session. And I want to go, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm the same way. I've worked too much with people, and I want to say it's going to be a waste of your time if you just hire a coach for one session, in my opinion. If you really want sustainable change, just like if you want to drop 20 pounds, you want to work with a trainer over a period of time, week after week. So that's where I get to know you. That's where I stay in it. And I think that would be a real practical way that shows that I'm very different than other people, other coaches, is because I truly believe in life sustainable change, but I'm practical about what it requires. I'm never going to be the person that says, yeah, you can drop 20 pounds. Just come see me and talk to me in one session. I'm going to say, oh, you want this result? Okay, here's how you get it. Are you up for it? And I work with some of the most amazing people. They love the transparency. They love that I'm authentic and I'm true, I'm honest about it. And man, I've seen people work hard. They've worked so hard, and I get to launch them and say goodbye to them as they completely go out into the world and become their best self. And others, I stay in the journey with them longer. And some of them kind of come back around when they're trying to move through other big things. But it's exciting for me to watch people grow. More importantly, though, I know what it takes for an individual to grow and for it to stick.
It's kind of like a get rich quick scheme. Like, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. If someone can say, I can fix you in one session for $19.99, yeah, it's probably too good to be true. So I love that what I've seen you as is you are a guide on the journey of life. And so it's so nice to have someone partner with you in life. You're not just, okay, we have our little session, now go. You are a partner, and that's so valuable because you're someone who has such wisdom and we can trust you. So Thank you for that.
Well, one more thing to add to that, Christina. I truly believe that you hold the answers inside of you. It's my job to come alongside and listen really hard so that I can help you pull out those answers. It's not my job to tell you what the answers are. That would be unempowering. That would be enabling. And so I really believe that people hold their answers within them. If we can all just slow down long enough and ask the right questions and listen, I get to keep calling that out and celebrating that and saying, yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's go for it. Let's do it.
And why can't we hear those voices in our head that we know? Like, that goes back to the other $1 million question. What's hindering us from hearing what we need to learn and know?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I tell this to everybody. I hire all my own coaches, advisors, counselors. I have a team of people to keep me moving, pushing through my lids. And I like to be transparent about that because I have not arrived, nor will I ever have arrived. But I do want to live a big, beautiful life. And I can feel in my gut when something's stopping me. And I know when I can do it on my own and push through it. And I know when I need help. And I think that's how we address what is the $1 million question of how come we can't do this on our own, or how come so many things are stopping us. I think really the best way to look at that is saying, I get to slow down and assess this and say, do I have what it takes in order to push through it? Or do I want to get some support to help me get through it quicker faster, and
Mm.
smarter. And I usually choose the latter. I'm like, yeah, I'd rather get some support for, 3 months versus having to deal with some things, some things we deal with for decades
Yeah.
because we just don't know how to get past it. If you've been dealing with something for longer than a year, you probably want to take a closer look at it and say, I am done dealing with this. Or if there's a repeated pattern going around your life
Yes.
over and over and over again, I watch for the patterns and I just say, Heather, that pattern has been happening for 5 years. Clearly, you're not getting the results you want. Go see if you
Mm-hmm.
can get some outside insight to help you break these patterns. And then you have that clarity where you walk in the conversation and say, here's where I want to go. Here's what I can feel stopping me. And this is where I feel stuck. A good coach will help you get to that finish line, get to that place where you want to go. Because instinctively, we know when we're stuck. The hardest thing, though, is just being honest about it and then being vulnerable enough to say, I need help and I'm daring to believe and dream that I get this other life. I just don't know how to get there.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Like we all have something in our lives. Like you said, you have this cycle of something that bothers you. And it's so hard to know, what do I do? It's been there forever. How do I get rid of it? And so to have outside help, but it's hard work too. Like sometimes it's easier just to hide and then I'll deal with it next time around, or, oh, it'll go away. But we need to get to the root of the problem in order to get healthy. And that's where you come in. So that's
Right.
amazing. And right now, we're in COVID-19 shelter in place. And it doesn't matter if you're listening to it right now or later on. What words of advice do you have, Heather, for people who are at home right now, who are stuck, who are depressed, who are overwhelmed by the situation of the world? What advice do you have for them?
The number one thing I'm telling people right now is start listening to voices that cultivate hope
Mm-hmm.
and kindness. And people usually go, and they want to skip past it. And I go,
Because it's hard work and it
yeah,
takes time.
yeah. And they don't realize how much they're inundated with all the negativity.
Yes.
So that's the number one thing is I try and raise that self-awareness. And I just say, tell me how you are starting and ending your day. And they'll
Yes.
tell me, oh, I flip on the news. And how are you feeling after the news?
Right.
Or I just jump into my to-do list and next thing I know, I've been plowing straight through. I work with a lot of high achievers where working at home, they're stressing themselves out,
Mm-hmm.
where they're pushing. And I think one of the things I just try and help people stop and say, what is it that you're doing in the day that's feeding your hope and your peace? And then what's sabotaging it? You have to look at both. What are you inviting in? And invite more of that in that is cultivating hope and peace. What is it that is hurting it? Whether it's the news, whether it's something you're doing that is not helping you, whether it's overworking, underworking,
Mm-hmm.
being unproductive. I mean, you go both ends of the spectrum, right?
Right.
Some of us are like, yeah, I'll call it a day somewhere around 11:30 a.m., because we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed with our to-do list, and we are feeling lonely or we're not connecting with people in our office. Or if we're a stay-at-home parent, we're overwhelmed with trying to homeschool that has
Yeah.
been pushed on us. And we're shocked at kind of living in the
Hello.
shock. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
There's so much that's just shifted and changed that I want to say, you're going to have to shift and change what you listen to and who you listen to. Whether it's outside sources from media or whether it's actual friendships and relationships, you're going to need to get more and more selective. Even I noticed when I stopped watching a lot of the news and some of the extreme stories, I had some people wanting to tell me the news, and I had to learn to stop and say, "No, I'm good. I don't need to hear that story. Thank you."
Right.
You just don't realize how much it's around you, and then finding relationships and voices that support a better dialogue about how we're building bridges to one another and how we're being kind. There's so much fear conversation, and fear is the opposite of love. So every time we engage with fear, we are growing a culture of fear.
Yes.
The opposite is true. Every time we engage with a loving act or a loving connection or a loving conversation, we can start growing that culture. I don't think people realize the power that they have. So they kind of hand over their power to the rest of the world and they just say, oh, you're having a conversation of fear, and then it grows fear. Fear is contagious. Well, the opposite is true. Love is contagious. So the more we can start stepping into that and recognizing where we're having fearing conversations or fearful conversations, and recognize it's the antithesis to love.
So what would a loving conversation sound like?
I'll give you a personal example.
I'd love that.
You can always ask me for those too, Christina.
I love it.
I always tease my clients too. I'm like, you can always ask me. I just don't want to overshare if you don't want to hear it. But
Hey,
I think
people want to hear stories. So
exactly.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I noticed that, before COVID, I could get up and maybe, I don't know, do a little reading or maybe a quick walk, and I was fine. And I jump into my day, lots of energy. I noticed with COVID and everything from the hard conversations I'm dealing with every single
Yes.
day, it was draining me personally. And so I had to get a little more intentional about not only how I started my day, how I ended my day, but also in between, in the middle. It just took more intentionality. So, I get up now and I'll light a candle and I'll relax. I'll do some meditation. I might do some stretching. I was doing a boot camp, but that started getting so stressful. And I was like, I just need a nature walk. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I had to be so conscious, and I was shocked at how the toll this world is, and the fear that is breeding. It's almost more contagious than COVID, in my
Yes.
opinion. And so I had to be much more intentional about how I was kind of insulating myself from it so that I could create loving conversations, anything from my kids. I've got 2 teenagers, to my husband, to people that I'm involved in, to my clients, to my neighbors. And I think that I had to recognize it was requiring a little more work. So even like I went on a walk and I thought, okay, I need to be real particular about a podcast I want to listen to that's going to feed my soul. I listened to one by Brene Brown. I love her. The other day too, I went on a walk and I realized I was just kind of feeling lonely. And I thought, who do I want to talk to? Who feeds me? Who is it that I enjoy having? I need to have a good laugh with. This person immediately came to mind. I talked on the phone with her while on my walk. Another time I was on a walk and I realized again, I need to talk, but I need to talk about something that's a serious issue. Who is that person that can walk through this journey with me without giving a ton of advice, but just kind of living it with me? I don't think we're that selective about the voices we invite into our world. That alone helps us not only push away the fear, but creating more loving conversations. Many of us just kind of subject ourselves to whoever happens to cross our paths or whatever happens to be on the news, or whoever happens to talk to us. We don't have this intentionality of what it is that we're feeling, what we need, and who is it that can help give us what we need in that moment.
And can you talk a little bit about rest? We've talked a little bit about this in the past, just you and me, and how we need just to rest and fill our cup. And that's obviously part of this too, is when we rest, we can get rid of fear and we can just fill our soul, calm our spirit. And can you address the importance of that in our lives?
Yep. Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm looking up now because I have what is called an R&R room.
Okay.
My rest and restoration room. Rest and relaxation. What is it? R&R. I don't know. It's my R&R room. Yeah.
There you go.
Just abbreviated for so long, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
But I have a physical place in my house that I actually call my R&R room, because when I enter that room, it's this sense of, okay, I need to let down. I need to rest. And I usually notice it when the anxiety is starting to go high. I've had a lot of difficult conversations. Again, with COVID, a lot of conversations, things have escalated. People are scared. They're angry. They're anxious. They're frustrated. They're dealing with a lot of negative emotions, and it's hard. And I want to stay in it with them, and I want to be there for them, but it takes a toll. It's not a real fun time to be a coach, to be honest. And I'm sure a lot of therapists and other coaches would agree with me on that as well.
I believe that.
What used to be probably a little easier and kind of fed us is now becoming a little more taxing. And at the same hand, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I want to be in each conversation. But I'll notice that I'll have to get up from my desk between some conversations and go and just take a breather. And the way I rest kind of mind, body, heart, soul. It might be a actual meditation lying down on the couch. It might be a song. I've got it. I've got a bunch of songs kind of on repertoire. I've got a repertoire of songs, and they might be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, up to 7 minutes. That either it's something that needs to be upbeat, or something that's peaceful, or something that feeds me, and I'll just push play if I know I've got 2 minutes in between a client call, or something that gives
Hurry
me
up and relax.
exactly.
Hurry up and calm down.
You'd be amazed at what 2 minutes will do to you. And it will shift your thinking. It will get you to that next one. If I have longer periods of time, I'll do more of like just journaling, drawing, art, just kind of get moving more into the right side of my brain. But honestly, with a lot of the work I'm doing, I'm too tired to even do that. Just being able to go and relax and know that I get to read a book that I want and just kind of let down helps me step back into the conversations that I want to step back into, and the relationships that I really do want to invest in. These are all real important to me, but I find that I've got to pour a little bit more into myself, and it's only through resting. And so when I use the term resting, I actually use the term restorative rest. It's a much more comprehensive term. Resting the mind, the body, the heart, the soul. And I'm the type of person where my mind goes a mile a minute. So I have to make sure that when I rest my mind. I can't just sit there and go blank. Otherwise, I'm just thinking about all this stuff. So then I call it the mind chatter. It's this mind chatter that just starts going on and on and on. I have to kind of hook it into something else. That's why podcasts, really positive podcasts, are great for me. Books that I really enjoy. It allows my active mind to get hooked into something else besides all the things that I'm carrying or everything that I've heard and listened to that day.
And I love how you're saying, like, you listen to others, but you're also listening to yourself. You can't help others get healthy and then have junk food for your mind.
Exactly.
So, that's so smart. And when someone leaves an event you speak at or a coaching session, what do you want them to walk away knowing? What's a key tool that they can take away and practice daily?
You've got this. I want every human being to know you've got this. You've got this more than you think you do. And I believe in your potential, and I want to help you believe in your potential. Then I think it's the practical side of me is just saying, and here's some tools, but you can't just look at it. You got to practice them. So every time I speak, I try and tell people, here's what I see the issues are. And the issues that I talk about, like anxiety or worry or not feeling like they're enough or feeling unlovable. I mean, like the list can go on. These have become blocks in many of our lives. And so one of the things I want to do is be a message of hope that says you get to push past that block. You've got this. You actually have the answers within you. I'm not holding the answers. You're holding the answers. You just get to be still long enough to start listening to yourself. And my job is to help you listen to yourself. And then my practical side is I will give you practical tools, how to actually rest. In the workshops or anything that speaking that I do is I like to take them through guided exercises, whether it's through how to address your beliefs or art experiences to move into the right side of the brain. Anything that helps you, I try and give practical tools that will help you go and do it on your own. Because that's my main message of you got this. You can do this. You have what it takes. It's all within you. It's just going to need some practice, and here's some tools to guide you through it.
I just got goosebumps because we're done with our first podcast, and you gave us so much right now. And so we put our little baby toe in the pool, and we have so much great content that we want to bring to our audience. So thank you so much, Heather, for spending this time with me, and for all of us who are listening. Please subscribe to the Heather Penny podcast. And if you have any questions, comments, or if you want to know about some of the resources that she offers, please visit heatherpenny.com. Remember, to live your best life, you have to live intentionally. Have a great day, and we can't wait for you to join us next week.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye, all.